Tonight on FSU Weather, we are tracking very dry conditions. It is feeling like fall out there across much of the country. Find out how long these dry weather and warm and cool temperatures will last, although we are wet in the west. So areas that need that drought relief are experiencing it. But something that is quiet for this time of year is the tropics. Not seeing much out there, but maybe that means it's time for a tropical getaway with the cooler temperatures entering the lower 48. All this and more on tonight's edition of FSU Weather. I'm student meteorologist Riley Winch.
That's right. Thanks, Raleigh. Thank you for that awesome intro. So tonight on the Tuesday night edition of FSU Weather, I'm going to be walking you guys through our top stories for this Tuesday evening. Currently right now, looking at Doak Campbell Stadium, it's been a great day around the Tallahassee metro area. Currently sitting at 80 degrees, not really much cloud out there. That sun is shining bright over Doak Campbell Stadium right now, so it's been a great day, as I said, around here. Temperatures right now sitting in the low 80s to even the upper 70s as we go into southern Georgia here. So again, a great day around the Tallahassee metro. And again, that's evident on our radar. Not one raindrop seen on this radar, so that's definitely a welcome sight as we work our way towards the end of the month, towards Halloween here. And as for tonight's lows, generally sitting in the mid to upper 50s, warmer down the shore with that marine influence. And tomorrow's forecast highs, generally a touch warmer than today, sitting in the mid 80s. So tonight's headlines: dry conditions east of the Rockies, a wet pattern in place for the Pacific Northwest, and snow for the Rockies. Now I'm going to pass things over to the desk with Riley.
Thanks, Evan. And it is definitely a fall pattern that we are experiencing, and it's a welcome one too. We are experiencing drier conditions where we've been wetter this year, and a little bit wetter conditions where we have been drier. Hopefully, with this rain in the forecast for the Pacific Northwest and a lot of the snow we're seeing in the Rockies, hopefully that takes a good dent out of our drought. That is still yet to be seen, but we do have signs that more wet weather and at least water content is on the way in some form for the majority of the West. Now back on the East Coast, here in Florida, temperatures are cooling off from what they were earlier this month, and conditions are really drying out, less humid conditions, and we are also getting into some pretty dry and cool weather, and it should be lasting for a while here as well. So now we want to head off back to the wall with Evan for the latest on this top story, which is how dry it is out in the east.
That's right. Thanks, Riley. So yeah, it's been really dry out towards the east. You can see that band of dry air stretching from the coastal Carolinas all the way out into the Atlantic. But most of that dry air is sitting along the East Coast right now, as that's a result of that cold front that went through here earlier this weekend and really brought those temperatures to a nice feeling. Yesterday was a great day around here, especially into Sunday. I was very comfortable around the area. Not much to show on the East Coast radar, just a little bit of showers activity in Vermont and New Hampshire right now, and also into Maine. But really not much to tell outside of those showers, and a little bit off the coast of Louisiana and the Gulf right now, but really quiet around the east, really dry. And that's also evident on our dew point temperatures, generally sitting in the mid-40s along the mid-Atlantic, even into the low 30s up near Boston. And we're sitting drier than we have been around the southeast, generally in the mid-50s to low 60s with our dew points. Currently in the northeast, it's again very dry. A little bit of shower activity up near Caribou in extreme northern Maine, but generally a really nice day around much of the big cities in the northeast, as evident by these temperatures out there. Currently in the south, it's much cooler than it has been the past week or so, but it's still very dry. Not much any shower activity around any of these places here on this map, but very comfortable temperatures. 73 up there in Nashville. That must feel really nice. 80 right here, closer to home, and lower 80s as we work our way into Texas. As for the radar, like I said, not much at all showing up here, just that shower activity off the coast of Louisiana. That will start to work its way up towards the Louisiana coast over the next 24 hours or so, as seen here on the future radar. Those will blossom a little bit into the New Orleans area and also coastal Mississippi and Alabama as well. That could bring some heavy rainfall and flash flooding, so make sure if you see any flash flooding, turn around and don't drown. That's very important advice there. And that's evident on our future rainfall forecast. You see those little bullseye areas with that orange and red showing up. That can be anywhere from 3 to 5, maybe even 5 to 7 inches of rain. So definitely make sure you use caution if you're going out to drive. As for this week's forecast, really just beautiful weather around the Tallahassee area. General moderating trend, reaching the mid-80s by the time we get to the end of next weekend into next week. But really comfortable temperatures around here. And as we get into our fall weather outbreak, dry weather sticks around, the chance for storms into next week, and a little change in the temperature forecast for tomorrow. And I want to pass things off to Riley.
Thank you. And with this little change in weather pattern, we're going to do a little bit of an educational segment here this evening. And this has to do with some rain situations you may see out in the Pacific Northwest. Now, the Pacific Northwest, we do see high mountainous terrain as you get closer to the coast. Now, notice how green portions of western Washington and Oregon are compared to the eastern parts. The eastern parts are very dry, barren of a lot of the vegetation, and that is because of the orographic effects. And basically what that means is we get some winds from the west, and they come up the mountain, and as that comes out up the mountain, what air does as it cools is it approaches the dew point temperature, and that's the point where water condenses into water vapor condenses into liquid water, and that's what makes clouds. So you have clouds form, you have precipitation. That really helps create a lot of vegetation on the westward side of the mountain. But as you head toward the leeward side, which is the eastern side, air sinks, and sinking air, that dries out. So with that drying out of the air, you don't have as much rain. It's very dry, and that keeps a lot of vegetation from forming, which creates more desert-looking terrain. Now, sea surface temperatures are pretty much starting to mirror the actual temperatures that we are seeing in the Pacific Northwest, which helps create a little bit more of a moist environment, and that will help enhance rainfall chances. And portions of the westward side of these mountains, you can see very green, a lot of vegetation. Definitely looks a lot more moist than the leeward side, which here at Hanford Reach National Monument, Washington, this is on the leeward side of the mountain. You can tell there is not as much rain here just by looking at the ground and pretty much how sandy it looks, because there is not really any ability for most vegetation to form. So basically what the rain shadow effect is, you have moist air forced upwards by mountains. That air does condense, and then it rains on the windward side of the mountain. But as the air reaches the leeward side, it is forced to descend and therefore dry, which can make for some pretty inhospitable conditions, Evan.
That's right. And thank you for that educational segment there, Riley. It's really helpful information for all you folks out there. Can really benefit from that information. But now I'm going to take you guys a little bit closer to home. So back with a live look at Doak. That sun, is still shining bright out there. Temperature is still 80 degrees. Wind coming out of the east-southeast at 6. So again, a really spectacular day out there. Not much to complain about at all. As for the temperature almanac, really not much of a change from our average high this time of year, just a tad warmer. And our low temperature this morning was actually lower than average, with a low of 52 this morning. But thankfully, nowhere near our extremely cold record of 36 set back in 1927. Hopefully we won't be getting anywhere near that anytime soon. And as for the hour by hour today, you can see this morning we sat around in the low 50s and moderated throughout the day to our eventual high, topping out around 81, 82, maybe even 83 degrees in the Tallahassee metro. So again, really nice, comfortable day out there, lower dew points than we've seen. Currently right now, generally sitting in the mid to upper 70s, with even Madison coming in around 80 degrees. That's the hot spot in the area right now. But again, very comfortable temperatures, a great evening to go out there for a walk, maybe dinner outside. So definitely a great day out there as well. Dew points right now, very comfortable in Tallahassee. 55 is the dew point, so that's very comfortable. Not exactly that high energy weather, but it's still very comfortable outside. 64 at Monticello, a little bit muggier there, and also down the shore at Apalachicola at 62. But still very comfortable outside. And we don't have to complain about any rainfall. That radar is completely bare right now, so that's definitely a welcome sight around here. As for the future radar, again, not much to see in the way of rain showers. Some clouds will try and build throughout the day tomorrow, so that may limit our sunshine throughout the day, but not much in the way of rain, which is definitely a good thing. As for tonight's forecast lows, generally sitting in the mid to upper 50s around the area. That's especially true for north of Tallahassee, but we will have warmer temperatures down the shore with that marine influence coming off the warmer Gulf waters. As for tomorrow's forecast highs, maybe just a touch warmer than today, generally sitting in the low to mid 80s, with down the shore, maybe a little bit cooler with that marine influence, 79 there in Carabel. As for your dog walk forecast tomorrow, if you're planning on walking your furry friend tomorrow, very nice in the morning, but warming up as you go throughout the afternoon. As for the week ahead, generally sitting in the low to mid 80s, and lows will be very comfortable at night, generally sitting in the upper 50s to maybe in mid 60s. Now I'm going to pass things off to Aaron with a broader view at the state of Florida.
That is right, Evan. Looking at the broader view of Florida, well, I guess we'll take another look at our forecast, because pretty much we're seeing in the mid 80s and very, very comfortable skies across much of the region. But as we look into Florida across the Sunshine State, you can see Panama City Beach, very nice, where the sun will set at 79 degrees. And Orlando, we are at 79 as well. You can see up towards Miami, 82 degrees, and Gainesville at 78. Our current temperatures across the state, pretty much uniform, maybe from the mid 70s to up or to the mid 80s, I should say, with really mostly sunny skies, mostly sunny conditions from across the state, very quiet. But you can see the water vapor is actually showing more and more moisture working its way in from the west, as we do have those departing cold temperatures moving away from the state. Our Florida radar pretty much shows some showers offshore off the coast in the central Gulf of Mexico. So far, those are not going to do anything, at least in terms of the Sunshine State, but really, really quiet conditions for the most part. And this is what I'm saying. Across the panhandle of Florida, you can see quiet conditions up along the I-10 corridor. As you make your way towards central Florida, or north central Florida, I should say, is very quiet again, same story. As you go towards central Florida as well, Tampa or Daytona Beach, Orlando, quiet. Maybe a pop-up shower, maybe interior Florida towards south central Florida over towards Miami. Our future radar pretty much shows quiet conditions, as I was mentioning before. We may see a few showers up in the central Gulf, may make its way up towards the very extreme western portion of the state, perhaps into Thursday. So maybe places like Pensacola might see some showers, but really nothing across the area. For Miami, you can see pretty much mid-80s throughout the rest until Friday. Tampa, same story, up in the upper 80s with really low rain chances. Orlando, upper 80s as well with low rain chances. Jacksonville, we might see low to mid-80s as we do seeing the moderating temperatures throughout really until Friday. And then going over towards Pensacola, we're pretty much seeing low, maybe low or upper 70s, maybe low 80s, and perhaps maybe some mid 80s as we do get in towards the weekend. You can see on Friday, 84 degrees. Tonight's lows across the state, pretty much maybe upper 50s, maybe some low 60s as well. But again, as you go towards the south, perhaps some mid 70s as well, as we do have where the cold front didn't really do much of an impact over there as North Florida. And then tomorrow's forecast, you can see pretty much mid 80s across the board, maybe even touch 90 by Fort Myers tomorrow. And as we look at that, then that's it, and take it over towards Riley.
Yeah, taking a look at Florida, it's very dry. Maybe a little bit more to talk about on our national surface map right now. Again, the high pressure system right here is really dominating much of the southeast. Not only the southeast, but bringing a lot of dry weather to places like the mid-Atlantic into the northeast as well. maybe up towards New England, a couple showers. But we do have a lot of that wet weather is more on the west coast. It's nice to say that for a change. We do have quite a bit of snow falling right now in the state of Wyoming. Wyoming is pretty much your where the weather is happening state for the day. And some showers that are lingering off of the Pacific Northwest. So we do have some precipitation to talk about, but luckily not in areas that have seen too much of it so far this year. Now we see a lot of those warmer temperatures are on that eastern half of the country where we do have a high pressure and a ridge really bringing that warmer air farther north. But conditions are staying very dry. 80 degrees there in San Antonio right now, upwards of 67 there in Chicago, even 60 degrees there in Boston today. For late October, we're picking up on a little bit of warmer weather there. Where it's colder is over towards Salt Lake City, 47 degrees, even picking up some rain right now in San Francisco. So some cooler weather and wetter weather out west. We do see that upper level low here that is bringing that snow to Wyoming and some, which will be bringing some more wet weather to places like the Midwest into the Northeast as we head into later this week into the weekend. But notice all the dry air that really is dominating much of the east right now after that cold front that did move through a couple days ago. And we see with our dew points right now, we are fairly dry across the east. 34-degree dew point in Boston, that shows it's time to get that chapstick on. It's that time of year, folks. And it is also very dry out in the west like usual, even though that's where we are seeing the precipitation happening right now. A lot of the more moist air is pretty much being fed up into places like Texas and Oklahoma today. 60-degree dew points still aren't too oppressive. A little muggy when you step outside, but they are very manageable if you ask me. Now up into New England, we did have some mountainous terrain snow earlier today, not really accumulating too much, just the higher elevations, maybe getting that changeover in precipitation, but a little bit of rain that has moved into areas like Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. Looks like it's starting to taper off a little bit. We see as we head into the future some rain for portions of Maine, but we dry out for your Wednesday before we do see the chance for some rain move back in for our Thursday. Now, speaking of the drought, we have a lot of that in the Pacific Northwest and pretty much just the West in general, where we are starting to pick up on some rain. We see a lot of this snowfall here in Wyoming. That'll help kick out some of the drought, and along the Pacific Northwest, some rain as well. Now, how much rain? Not enough to really knock out the drought, but certainly enough where we could help, especially in Northern California, maybe picking up on a couple of inches of rain here or there. Out towards the Rockies, specifically Wyoming, is where we're seeing that snow right now. And that snow cover, this is the time of year we're going to start seeing that pick up. And we even got, about 1 to 2 feet in some portions of Wyoming right now. How much more in the next 24 hours? Not too terribly much, but as we head over the next couple of days, the snow chances in these areas will increase. So just because we're getting just a little bit of snow in the next 24 hours doesn't mean we'll be done with that there. We'll see this upper level low start to move its way over into portions of the Midwest and then into the Northeast. So your rain chances aren't done, even though we are pretty dry right now. And across the country, we are in for another warm day in the east tomorrow, a little cooler as you head out west.
That is right, Riley. And transitioning into our local segment, our second local segment, as you can see, taking a live look at Doak Campbell Stadium, 80 degrees under partly cloudy skies. Very nice. Looks like it'll be a nice sunset behind Doak Campbell Stadium. Hour by hour, you can see pretty much temperatures risen from the 50s up into the 70s over in the morning and then going into the low 80s by the afternoon. So very nice conditions. Certainly without the humidity, it makes it really nice. And our current local temperatures, you can pretty much see across the board, 70s really throughout the entire Big Bend region of Florida. And as we transition to our current lower dew points, you can see pretty much 50s and some 60s as we get towards the coast, with the exception of Monticello up towards 63 degrees. Our Florida radar, it's quiet across the state. Again, a few pop-up showers maybe in the very extreme South Florida. But most of the shower activity is out towards the central Gulf of Mexico, and more specifically offshore of the central Gulf of Mexico, and really poses no significant issue towards Florida. And zooming in closer to the Tallahassee area, you can pretty much see maybe a little bit of ground clutter by the radar, but that's not rain. That's just, as I was mentioning, the ground clutter, so nothing to worry about there. And as for our future radar, you can pretty much see most of the region really dry. Maybe we might see a few clouds coming in from the west, as I was mentioning, with increasing chance or increasing moisture on the upper levels. And maybe perhaps a shower, maybe a very extreme western part of the viewing area, but certainly nothing locally in Tallahassee. And tonight in Tally, you can see 57 degrees under mostly clear conditions, so certainly cool, maybe a light jacket weather for some folks. Wind is calm, so certainly nice out there today, or tonight. And for tomorrow, you can see pretty much really nice conditions across much of the area. You can see 83 degrees for Tallahassee under mostly sunny skies, and winds out of the east-southeast at 6 miles per hour. If you're taking your pooch out for a walk, you can see pretty much tomorrow really nice warm-up, similar to today's warm-up. May get into the 80s as we get into noon, and then of course looking at our forecast for the rest of the week, very, very moderate and a trending more warmer as we get to the rest of the week. And here is Riley with the tropics.
Yeah, well, if you're starting to get a little sick of these cold fronts, which even myself, I'm kind of, I came to Florida State. Why am I experiencing cooler weather? I should be wearing my shorts, right? Tropics are somewhere you might want to look right now because there's no activity right now in the Atlantic Basin. We look at the Atlantic, we see this upper level low that just brought that cold front through to places like here in Florida, and pretty much the entirety of the East Coast really dried out from that. But in terms of things that are tropical, we see maybe some waves down here. Nothing has a chance of developing right now. And that water vapor here is showing that, yeah, conditions are not too favorable out there if you want to see some tropical cyclones developing. We have a lot of dry air, fast-moving winds that would really tear apart anything trying to get its act together. Even in the tropics, a lot of dry air. Where we like to look this time of year is the Caribbean, because the Caribbean basin, you can see it's still warm. Sea surface temperature-wise, there's a lot of fuel for tropical cyclones to develop, but unfortunately, fortunately for us, we do not have favorable conditions in the Caribbean for development right now. We do have some convection showing up in the Gulf of Mexico. This is associated with what will bring some wet weather later this week to northern portions of the Gulf, like Louisiana, into Alabama, Mississippi, and the Florida Panhandle. Central America right now, that's where you can get in on some tropical downpours and storms. A lot of high cloud tops showing up on the radar, which is translating into some pretty wet weather. But the Caribbean islands are somewhere where we are actually on the drier side. A little bit of convection flaring up on the island of Hispaniola, but overall Cuba's had a pretty dry day. So heading out and about on the island, not too bad today. And again, the water vapor here showing a lot of wet weather towards Latin America, but over on the Caribbean side, we're a little bit on the drier side. Somewhere you might want to escape to if you would like some more tropical weather in this October month is Hawaii. We're not seeing any real rain or convection showing up on this satellite right now. And it is pretty comfortable out there if you want to head to the beach as well. Honolulu sitting there at 84 degrees, 82 there on the Big Island in Hilo. And we can see into tonight, we're not going to get that cool. We're going to get a little cooler there in Lanai City at 64 degrees, 68 there in Hilo. Honolulu staying in those low 70s. So if you want to go out and about, you don't have to worry about bundling up there in Hawaii. Tomorrow, we will be reaching the 80s in Honolulu and Hilo, approaching the 80s there in Lanai City. So that's what we pretty much have. And our week ahead in Honolulu, not any rain on the radar there, or not any rain in the forecast, Evan. So that is some good news if you want to go to the beach in Hawaii.
Yeah, it's definitely a good thing. I would love to be in Hawaii right now. But right now, I'm going to run you guys through a quick recap of what we've been seeing around the country. There's that little snow system bringing all that snow to parts of Wyoming and the Rockies, and generally dry conditions with high pressure building in on the eastern half of the country. Very comfortable dry up in the northeast, nice temperatures as well. Dry around the southeast as well, very comfortable temperatures again. And up in the northwest, a little showery conditions along the immediate coast of the northwest, but temperatures are somewhat comfortable in the low to mid 60s. there's a 24-hour snowfall. You can see that little bullseye right there of about maybe 12 to 15 inches of snow in the upper elevations of of Wyoming. As for tomorrow's highs, there's that cool spot up in Wyoming and the Dakotas, nice and comfortable in the on the East Coast, and for tonight, cold in the Rockies and comfortable for much of the country.
Right, as we start to wrap up the show tonight, with one last look, take a look at our local segment. So let's get in here real quick. Another look at Doak. Very, very nice, pleasant conditions outside with currently temperature sitting at 80 degrees and partly cloudy with a nice sunset in the background. Our current local temperature is pretty much mid-70s across much of the region, perhaps maybe a little bit cooler as we get up into Georgia. But Florida radar, again, shows really minimal shower activity. Again, up maybe towards the central Gulf of Mexico, perhaps a shower. And then zooming in on Tallahassee, very, very nice conditions, nothing to speak of there. Our future radar, again, nothing. We might see some filtered cloud cover, maybe some showers as we get towards the very extreme parts of the our viewing area, but again, nothing significant. Our tonight's lows pretty much staying in the 50s, really area-wide, upper 50s in Tallahassee at 59, and maybe some mid-60s, or mid-50s, I should say, as we get into southwest Georgia. Tomorrow's forecast, low to mid-80s across the area. Very, very nice conditions, maybe some low 80s down towards Apalachicola. And as we look at the week ahead, we can see very, very nice conditions as we have a moderating trend in temperatures as we warm up. And now to Evan with the desk.
That's right. Thanks, Aaron. I just want to take a second to congratulate you on your first show. You did an amazing job, and definitely a welcome sight to see on our crew. Another good person to be informing you guys of the weather on FSU Weather. So to briefly recap our show, we do have that snowmaker out in Wyoming that would bring generally 3 to 5 inches in the lower elevations of Wyoming, but in those upper elevations, you could see some more significant snowfall, something that you guys could use this time of year as we transition into winter. And generally comfortable conditions across much of the country, especially in the eastern half of the country with that cold front just moving through. Those dry conditions will persist, at least for a little while, before that next front moves through with that high pressure that's been building in behind the front, giving those comfortable temperatures, not too hot, not too cold, and very comfortable dew points out there. And as for California on the west coast, shifting gears, we will see a lot of rain coming through. There may be even an atmospheric river that sets up across the California coast, bringing some much needed rain, hopefully not too much rain to the coast to help them with their drought conditions. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/FSUweather, and also like us on Facebook at facebook.com/FSUweather. And if you are not already, you can watch us live on YouTube at youtube.com/FSUweather. We stream every Monday through Friday at 6 p.m. And make sure you follow us on Instagram at FSU Weather. If you'd like to send us pictures of those weather phenomena you see out there, we'd greatly appreciate it. And you can also get it featured on your show, especially with our dog walk forecast. If you have a furry friend of yours that you'd like to see featured on the show for our dog walk forecast, make sure you send that in to us as well. So that does it for this Tuesday edition of FSU Weather. I'm student meteorologist Evan O'Regan. Have a good night, everybody.